Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ripple Effect. I am on Zoom this week, international break, not in the studio, but it makes sense anyway because we've got Premier League footballer, but I guess, what league are we in now? It's Thai League One?
Thai League One, I think, is, yeah.
Give me.
Thai League One.
Player, captain, leader, legend, Andros Townsend with me today. And I've written down some notes and I've got some bits and pieces here, and there's so much that you've sort of packed into your career, and you're still going. And I'm really excited to chat to you about how you reflect on your career, but how you kind of reflect on yourself as well. Like, I watched a few interviews with you, and you seem like a man who is both kind of open and forthright. Would that be a fair thing to throw at you right at the start of a chat? Because I just think the openness, but the confidence to go and play in Thailand and change your life in that way, I think is incredible. I think it's an amazing thing to do.
But I don't think it should be, because when players retire, I'm burnt out. I'm going to go on holiday. I'm going to go to the US. I'm going to go to Thailand. I'm going to go sightseeing. So I'm doing that while I'm still doing what I love every single day. So I think I've got the best of both worlds. I'm living an amazing life, and I get to do what I love every single day, and live in a great country. So I honestly believe more players should do this towards the end of their career.
Yeah, because I want to touch on loan spells. I want to talk about you. I've seen you touch on sports psychology and how you kind of utilize that in your career, because I think that's always really, really interesting, and always something that I like to kind of humanize players if that's possible. And I think an audience enjoys that, but they could also resonate with that. So I think that'd be really cool. I think you're quite a unique winger. Like, my first experience of you, Andros, was as a QPR fan in a difficult season, but in a season where you were on fire for us on loan. And you had a few loan spells, so we'll kind of talk about those. But I think your style as a winger is really interesting. And I've asked Neda Manua's often on the podcast. I've asked him for a question, so I'll ask you that as well, if that's all right. And just talk about maybe the punditry and your future as well. But let's start with your present, because I had a panic, right? So two things. First of all, let's talk about the climate. You're currently at Kanchanaburi Power. Is that right?
Kanchanaburi Power.
And it's so. Let me read this. Kanchanaburi province has a tropical savanna climate. Winters are dry and very warm. Temperatures rise until April, which is very hot, with the average daily maximum of 37.8 degrees Celsius, 100 Fahrenheit. Monsoon season, which I think some people, and a lot of people, when they knew that you were coming on the pod, have sent me a clip of you like struggling in the rain recently. Yeah. The monsoon season runs from May through to October, with heavy rain and somewhat cooler temperatures during the day. So we're just getting out of the monsoon season for you now. Is that what that was?
Yeah, I thought we were, but it's still, even today, it was heavy rain and training on a waterlogged pitch. So we're still inside it. So definitely a new experience, a throwback to watching games in the 80s, not early 90s. But yeah, it's all part and parcel of it.
So I guess when you get into that and you see the pitches like that, are the training pitches like that as well? Like, how has these first few months been when it comes to the football?
There's nothing you can do. Like the climate, do you either want to play in 40-degree heat in April, like you mentioned, or play in the monsoon season? You have to have one or the other, else you're never going to have a full season.
Right.
There's nothing they can do. We go to the best stadiums, we go to the worst stadiums. If there is a downpour, unfortunately, the pitch is going to be waterlogged, and it gets to a stage where, of course, in the Premier League, they'd probably call off that game the other day that I played in, but we traveled 3 or 4 hours. We had a game 2 weeks ago where a club traveled 8 hours, and then it downpoured literally just before the warm-up.
Right.
So they obviously wanted to play it. We were in game mode, the adrenaline was high, so we wanted to play it. So you end up having to play on an unplayable pitch.
But the mood, like, little swivel of the hips, they were gone. That's like, did you enjoy that side of it?
Rain or shine, still got it, and that's what I love. I enjoy playing football, and unfortunately, a year or so ago, my Premier League career was over. So it's not about, I don't care about playing 20, 25 games in Turkey or playing 30 games here, there. My dream was the Premier League. I fulfilled that on 293 occasions. Now it's just about enjoying it. And even on that pitch, you can see a swivel of the hips, the left foot cross coming
Yeah,
inside.
yeah.
That's still all there. So I'm going to continue playing until I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, and I hopped on Y Scout and I thought, I'll see what clips are there any clips available. There is like, if anyone listens to this, obviously, I think, as I say, you're very, very unique in your style as a winger, as opposed to most wingers that we kind of generally see these days. And if you imagine what would an Andros Townsend goal look like, it's like your first goal is like exactly that, just cutting in, whacking it, and unbelievable technique for the goal as well. So I think that's quite refreshing. Do you think that how many of these kind of conversations have you had where people are trying to understand why you've taken this move? Now, you've kind of already explained it, of course, in terms of your feelings for it. But I think a lot of people at this stage of their career maybe struggle with this stage and where to go, and if it's not the Premier League, are you going to have the stomach for the fight? Is that something that's kind of played a part in any way, or do you seem very like fresh?
You know what? I got to the end of last season. I've been frozen out through no fault of my own in Turkey, and I heard about the offer from Thailand, and my gut just told me you will be happy there. It wasn't about you will fulfill your career or you will continue your career. My gut just told me you will be happy living there. And I went with my gut, and I fulfilled my dream of playing in the Premier League, 293 appearances. I tried to go to Turkey. Can I resurrect it? Can I push? Can I get back to the top? Politics from that side of it hampered my year in Turkey. And it was like, I'm 34 years of age. I still feel able to do what I want to do. I don't want to be training by myself with a club because the president wants me off the wage bill or the director of football wants me off the wage bill. I want to see out my remaining years happy, playing, free. And that is what led me to Thailand. And I'm here and I'm happy and I'm playing and I'm free.
That's amazing, man. No, I love it. Like, I think that's, you said in an interview, you were talking about previous injuries that you'd had and that you kind of spoke with a sports psychologist about it. And it allowed you to focus a bit more on the present and the future. And again, I think that's a really nice element of this. I've been to Thailand. It's obviously absolutely beautiful, and it is such a new surroundings for you. But I think that's what's really refreshing about chatting to you about this, is that it feels like that's quite ingrained in you to stay in the present now, like going there and just drinking it in for what it is. Like, is it one where, does it feel like you expect it to be a one season thing, or am I defeating the object in that question?
Yeah.
In the sense of you're just like living for now?
To be honest, I am focusing on the now, but I'd be lying if the competitive side in me wasn't sort of thinking about the future and can I rebuild a second career for myself in Asia? Have I opened doors for myself in Asia? But there's no expectation, there's no pressure on myself. If I get to the end of this season and I feel like I'm done and there's no offers that I want to take, then I'm happy, I'll retire, I'll look back on my career full of pride. But if I can extend my career, one of my teammates is 42 years of age. If I can emulate that, that would be amazing. But I'm staying in the now. I'm not thinking about what the future holds, to be honest.
What's the name of the person who's 42?
Captain, he's my captain. I call him captain.
Yeah, we got a language barrier. Fair enough. Because I looked at the squad and I was thinking, who else? And then there's a player called Sergio Aguero. Is that you've got a player in your squad called Sergio Aguero?
We have, and I thought maybe it was a nickname, but his name is actually Sergio Aguero, and he's Argentinian.
Wow.
And every time I see him at the start, it was like Aguero. And of course, he had no idea what I'm references because he gets different commentary. He has no idea that Martin Tyler. So I had to stop that. I had to stop it.
That's madness. And what's one thing that's surprised you about your time there so far? And what is there anything that kind of has been a bit harder than you expected? And is there anything that's been easier than you expected?
I think what surprised me most is the quality. I did work on, so did you, the Club World Cup in the summer. And what really surprised me then was the size, like with Dad from Morocco, how good they were and how well they competed against the top sides in the world. to come in here, it's no different. The quality is so high. Like I said before, I hadn't played the game since March. I was training by myself since March. So I genuinely thought, I'm Andros Townsend from the Premier League. I'm going to go over here, a couple of training sessions straight in the team, and I'll be able to perform. But it was actually quite difficult for me to get up to the tempo. So that surprised me. Probably the toughest part would have to be the pitches, which we touched on before. If there's no rain, the pitches are rock solid. If you do get heavy downpour just before training or a game, it is waterlogged and it is pretty much unplayable. So that's one thing I probably didn't factor in, but it's all life experiences, learning experiences, and I'm enjoying the good and the bad.
Yeah, and if it does, like, I think there's a theme. I'm always kind of looking for a theme when I'm chatting to anyone about anything, really. But like, it does feel like you're just like, you're pretty good at jumping into things, aren't you? Like, the other thing I remember about you is with your England career, you were injured for one of the major tournaments after being quite influential in the qualifiers. Is that right?
Yeah, World Cup 2014. Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was like at the major tournament or it was one of the game after. You were a pundit then, weren't you?
I did go to the World Cup as a pundit.
That was it. Like,
yeah.
And so, is that something in you? Is that have you always been like? What word would it be for you? Is it impulsive? What is it?
Probably I'd go with my gut feeling, and on that occasion, I regretted it because being at the side of a pitch at a tournament you were predicted to star in was so tough. But yeah, I'd go with my gut feeling. It was like, I'm either going to do my rehab in England or I'm going to go to Brazil. A paid holiday to Brazil to work and do my rehab. It was like, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. So I always try and think of the positives and go with my gut. And my gut, so far in my career, my gut has led me to the right choices.
Yeah, and okay, life's about variety, isn't it? I guess because even at the start of your career, loans at Yeovil, Leyton Orient, MK Dons, Ipswich, Watford, Millwall, Leeds, Birmingham, Rangers, of course, as well. What was the idea there? Is it just one where you just wanted to? Is it always about playing? You're not someone who wants to be kind of sitting about. Is that something that's been a bit of a difficulty in your career because there have been those periods where you have been on the sidelines?
I think when I was younger, I got into the mentality of if I'm not playing in one club, I'm going to go to the next club. As long as there's a theme of me slowly climbing from League One up until the Premier League, if I'm not playing, I'm going to go and play somewhere else. And that worked when I was on loan, but when I was permanent, and for example, Spurs, I wasn't playing for 2 or 3 games, I'd start sulking and ask to leave the club. And you can't do that when you're a permanent player. You can do that when you're alone, but when you're a permanent player, you can't do that. I think that sort of hampered me towards my sort of senior career, even though it kind of stood me in good stead in my young career, going out and playing games and experiencing different cultures.
Right, listen up. I've created a new home for proper football analysis with exclusive breakdowns, previews and content that you won't find on YouTube. Every Tuesday, our amazing team of tactical writers analyse the weekend's action with The Fallout. Every Friday, we preview everything coming up in the Premier League on The Narrative. There's also Allcott Unfiltered, a monthly video where I give my honest takes on the biggest stories, and you're also going to get bonus pieces, Q&As with ripple effect guests, and access to hot debates within the chat. You can sign up to my Substack for free to access selected articles, specials, and daily discussion in the chat. Full access is £5 a month, or save 2 months free on the annual plan. Come and be a part of the JLA Substack, links in the description.
And going into those different football clubs, younger guy, but I imagine there's an element of opportunity of being that saviour when you're coming from Tottenham, so that's quite a strange concoction for you to sort of deal with as a youngster, where I'd imagine when you're going into those clubs, they're going, a result. We've got a guy who's probably too good to be here. How does that mess with your mind when you're on loan?
I used to hate it. Those training sessions, like the expectation, this guy's from Tottenham. Let's have a look at him. Let's have a look at his touch. Let's have a look at this. I used to really struggle with that. But my mindset was just like focus, get to the game. Because I knew in the game, 11v11, full pitch, I'd be able to show what I could do because in my young years, I was a very explosive, quick player. But in the training sessions, the tight training sessions, I used to struggle to show what I could do. So it was like, I know you had a bad session today. Just get on with it. There's a game on Saturday. just focus on the game, and it'll be all right. And that sort of got me over the nervousness of those first few sessions everywhere I went.
Right. Because I'm guessing in a very male-dominated arena and going to all these different clubs where one thing I went to watch Southampton train last week, very fortunate to do so. And one thing that I'm always sort of like blown away with is it's not a testosterone thing, but it's like there's so much like dynamics, there's so many relationships occurring all the time. And I think going into that and it being such a sort of alpha male situation and the rage of ages as well, I think that's, I just don't think there's many scenarios where you have to jump into that kind of situation.
And I think as well, James, like players don't sugarcoat it, whether you're 17 years of age or 32, they don't. Like, I used to get shouts of how much, or he plays for Tottenham, or like stuff like that. Players don't sugarcoat, so you have to deal with that sort of side of it. So, like you said, the testosterone, you're competing with places for these people, so they're not going to be putting an arm around you and cuddling you and telling you what you want to hear. They're going to be trying to, it's cutthroat, they're going to be trying to come for your place. They're going to be trying to kill your confidence.
Yeah, it seems brutal. Honestly, it seems absolutely. So that's why I was thinking, you've got to be, this is why I keep trying to find the word. Maybe you can find the word, is it confidence at that age to kind of go in there? Or is it just like out and out hunger to achieve? Like, what's the kind of fuel there that allows you to thicken your skin and go into those environments that are really difficult?
I think a bit of both, as well as you've got to be thick-skinned. So when those shouts are coming, you've got to be thick-skinned. It can't get through. And like you said, you've got to have the confidence and the hunger to succeed. I know I'm going there because I want to play in the Premier League for Spurs. So I'm here for a reason. Doesn't matter if you're by yourself or if you haven't got any friends or nobody's being nice to you. My goal is to play for Spurs. That was always in my mind, the end goal everywhere I went.
And so did those, sort of emotionally for you, when you then come back to Spurs, do those loan spells kind of help? I mean, obviously they help from an experience point of view, but if they go well, then you're even more like emboldened to be like, come on now, like give me an opportunity here.
You know what? No, Harry Redknapp did not care. Unless you did it in the Premier League, Harry Redknapp did not care. Like, I was doing well on loan, bad loans, doing well in the FA Cup when I played for Spurs, Europa League, but just never got that Premier League chance because he wanted Premier League ready players. And I knew eventually I had to prove myself elsewhere in the Premier League before I got my chance for Spurs in the Premier League.
And what was the first opportunity for you there? Was it QPR or was it?
It was QPR, yeah.
Yeah, because we struggled obviously that season, but you were on fire there. Like, what happened there?
Honestly, I have no idea. I don't know. Everything just came together. The confidence. I think it was the fact that I'd always, say for example, I played for Millwall in the Championship, did well. I always knew there was a level to go. I still knew, for example, I needed to play against Ashley Cole in the Premier League. There was another level I needed to go. But when I started playing at QPR, and first game was against Norwich, man of the match. We played Man United, I think, on my third game, had a decent game. The confidence just grew, and like I just realised within myself that I am actually good enough to be here. And then, honestly, towards the end of that spell, I was the best I ever was.
No, you were the best. You were, honestly. Yeah, I know you don't want to say it, but like you were the best. It was like, and maybe this brings us on to kind of you as a winger in terms of that style, because I really can't. I'm struggling to find another example of your style in terms of that desire to cut in, be it a cross, and a cross that's very, very. I guess not as, I mean, it's more an outswinger now, but that sort of cross from the 18-yard line, so, you sort of make your way in and then flight that ball in, or the bravery that you had with shooting from that area as well. I was sort of thinking Arjen Robben in terms of like, he kind of wants to go here, but you can't really stop him. But there's not many players kind of like you. Is that something that people would talk to you about? Was that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it was a good thing, and I think as well I worked tirelessly on my weaker foot. So on match of the day, you will see Andros Townsend coming inside and bending one with his left foot, and you're like, show him down the line. But I used to spend half the game taking players down the line to get that half a yard to be able to get onto my left foot and put in a cross or put in a shot. So yeah, I think I was unique in a way that I was so left-footed, but also my right foot was very strong as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because there's some great, like I say, I was kind of watching some goals and clips, and there are sort of those great memorable goals, but there's some lovely little sort of lofted crosses to the, when you went around the outside as well, and actually some bangers with your right foot as well. I got a bit confused at one point, but so in terms of you kind of having that way of playing, one question that Nedham sent me was he sort of used this phrase that you were kind of the sort of antithesis of Raheem Sterling. He was suggesting that Raheem would kind of be there at the back post, kind of ready for that goal in terms of, and it worked obviously with the way that Man City played. Whereas with yourself, that sort of, with what you could do and how devastating it was when you were able to kind of cut inside like that, it was a little bit different. He was wondering if kind of on reflection, a little bit later on in your career now, is that something that, because I saw that you put on the back of your name, you've put senior on the back of your name. With your son, would you encourage him to kind of have that same style of play? Because I think you scored less goals than Raheem Sterling, but you scored more memorable goals. Like, how do you feel about that?
My whole career, I have tried to be that guy that scores inside the box because, like you said, Raheem Sterling, 20 odd goals a year at Man City, just being on the end of crosses. But I never had that anticipation of knowing where to go. People think when they see Harry Kane scoring a 5-yard tap-in, they think it's an easy goal. It's not. He times his run. He knows where the ball's going to go. He knows where he needs to be, and he makes it an easy finish. I was just never able to do that. Even today in training, like we had a conversation, like I scored from outside the box, and it's like, I wish I could score those ones close. I wish, because it would have taken, I'd never scored double figures in my career, never. And for someone with my left foot, like you mentioned, my right foot, how is that possible? Because I was never able to get the scruffy ones. And to this day, it still annoys me. I can't figure out why I can't get that anticipation to be in the right place at the right time. I don't know. I've tried going into training thinking, right, I'm always going to be in the box. I'm always going to try and read where the ball's going to be. Okay, I'll go to the near post, ball goes to the far post. I just couldn't read it. It honestly, like, you think it's instinct, but it's not. It's a skill. These top players, they have that skill of just being able to read where the ball's going to go and positioning themselves perfectly.
I guess it's an amalgamation of the two, isn't it? Because there's an element of feel in it, and I bet like anyone listening to this podcast right now, like even at incredibly low levels, but as you work through the levels, there are those kinds of players that it's like it just always drops to them. You mentioned Harry Kane there. Obviously, you came through at Spurs with him. It's outrageous his ability to be in the right place at the right time and be as clinical as he is. Can you give me a bit of an insight into his mentality as a player? Because I think he's quite a sort of he comes across as this. We know he scores goals, but his personality doesn't feel like outrageously forthcoming, if you know what I mean. Like, what makes him so great? In between the years.
That's a very good question. I think again he's thick-skinned. I remember loans, especially at Norwich, where I don't think he scored in the Premier League, and to then come back and still train with confidence, still stay after training and want to do shots with his left and right foot. He's very thick-skinned. I don't know. I don't know the secret, but he's, again, similar to like myself, but he carried it on. He went from one day not being good enough to being a monster, like all within 1 month. Maybe again, like myself, it was the confidence. Once he got his first goal in the Premier League or first couple of goals, he started to believe he belonged, and it unleashed the monster that we see today.
Yeah, it's incredible. One really, really lovely moment I noticed was you scored against Italy. for England. And, I saw you wheeling off. And then what was amazing, there's this incredible, I don't know, it's one of those ones I was thinking, I hope you've got a picture of that. Like, I don't know if there is a picture of that. You probably know what I'm about to talk about. But there's this hug that happens. And it's yourself, Ryan Mason, Carl Walker, and Harry Kane. And it's like, it's not your normal hug. Like, it felt like there's like an extra like dollop of like love in that hug. Like, obviously you had some wonderful moments with England, and I'm sure you would have loved to have had more. But now, when you kind of reflect on that time with those people, how cool is that to have that moment with those four players? With you together, all on the pitch, being able to celebrate in that fashion. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was amazing. And like, for context, 1 week before that goal, I had been taken off after 30 minutes against Manchester United. And after that game, Paul Merson said, if Andros Townsend's in the England squad, then anyone can make it. Basically, like, putting me down. And like, so that goal was like me sort of releasing all of those emotions, and the players, that my teammates were genuinely happy for me that I scored. And that picture just paints 1,000 words. And that's another, not a regret, but one thing I wish I had done better is keep in touch with those guys, the guys I came through with, Carl Walker's, Ryan Mason's, Harry Kane's, Tom Carroll's, Danny Rose's, these players, Stephen Corker's, these players that sort of went through the journey with me. We sort of went on our different paths and sort of lost contact. But yeah, that picture will stay with me forever.
Yeah, oh God, it has to, right? And again, that's a bond that, like, you have those moments where sometimes you'll bump into someone you haven't seen for years and years, and it's like, I think especially with blokes, sometimes it's just like, it's like click, it's like you're back. And is that something that people don't realise with football, is like how hard it is to kind of how sort of ruthless you maybe have to be as dedicated as you need to be a Premier League footballer? Do you just move on and keep moving?
You do. You move on and keep moving, because you see teammates come and go. And it's only when you mature, you get to your 30s and you realise, like, nah, those weren't just teammates. Like, those were guys that I came through with, and we struggled together and we rose together and we had good moments together. Like, those are the guys that sort of my day ones. And yeah, through all the cutthroatness, like, I appreciate the guys I came through with more than most of them.
And just quick on Ryan Mason, did you think he'd be a coach?
No, it's not something I saw when I met him, but he's been through so much. And one thing that I did notice after his accident at Chelsea was he was just so positive, and like, anything he put his mind to, he was going to do. I remember, like, I went to his house after his accident, and he was like reading all of these books on how to better himself and how to improve. And it was like, wow, like, this guy is not going to let one bad incident ruin his life. He's sort of using it as a springboard to go on to bigger and better things. And he's a father now of 2 or 3, I think, and manager of West Bromwich Albion at 34. So no, full credit to him for turning a negative situation into a massive positive.
Let's touch on some of the clubs here, because I always like to look at the kind of differences, and you can kind of compare them from there. So obviously you went to Newcastle kind of briefly. I've sort of paired up Newcastle and Everton together, and then Palace as the two maybe sort of different types of club that you kind of with. Because I think at Newcastle and Everton, quite chaotic periods for both teams in terms of, and then Crystal Palace, just a great, I think a just great family club. And there's a great ripple effect that we've got, obviously, when it comes to Crystal Palace. But in terms of the overall environment, which, like I said to you, I think is kind of on my mind a lot at the moment. What's it like being at a Newcastle or an Everton when, they're just gigantic clubs and it's so intense? And also kind of, I think both would be willing to say that, like, it was kind of a bit all over the place. For both. Newcastle went down, which is why you kind of had to leave pretty sharpish. And Everton were in the midst of, a lot of financial troubles and kind of hanging in there. What's it like in that environment?
I didn't really see in either club. I don't know. For me, I'm just so focused on the end goal. I didn't really see like the struggles and the mess upstairs. You sort of, I don't know, it's a boring answer, but it didn't really affect me. Probably why on both sides, I ended up excelling on the pitch because I wasn't really thinking, oh, what if the chairman goes, or what if we get relegated, or what if the manager does this or does that. I was just so focused on the game.
Are you unique in that? Or like, there's often that kind of cliche that gets thrown about, that like, this has got to be affecting the team, coming down. Do you not buy that?
From my experience on both Newcastle and Everton, I didn't see anything affecting the day-to-day running of the club, the manager and the players. Maybe my mindset is different, but I don't think it really affects the players, because the players are paid to train Monday to Friday and play on Saturday. And whether there's unrest upstairs or whatever, that's not going to change.
And then, then Crystal Palace. Do you know what I noticed? She had a really nice link up with Wilfried Zaha. Like, loads of the goals kind of like you assisting him assisting you. Like, what was it like playing with him? Because I think, as players kind of progress, and then there's this moment, and especially we're doing this in an international break, it feels like every international break there needs to be this big debate about two players and if they were better or not, and kind of your sort of your place in history, I think, as a footballer is it's a weird one that kind of like ages and ages good and then ages badly. And I was just thinking, I was talking to someone about Wilfried Zaha the other week, and like, he was outrageous for a bit, wasn't it? What was it like playing with him?
For a 2-3 year period, he was one of the best players in the Premier League. And I'm surprised that nobody took the chance on him to make him a top player playing in the Champions League. But he was special. He would win games on his own. He would occupy 2-3 players, which would leave me free on the other side. I know what he liked to do, so I used to profit off some of his assists. He knew where I liked to cross the football, which was normally at the far post where he used to make darting runs in. So, yeah, along with Christian Benteke, we understood each other's games perfectly. And, yeah, Wilf was, for those 2 or 3 years, he was single-handedly keeping us in the top flight and the top 10, wherever else we managed to achieve.
It's nice, this sort of, there is a bit of a continuance of style in terms of Crystal Palace, because when I was watching some of these clips, it's like, they had like big lad up front in Benteke, and you were kind of putting those lovely crosses in for him, and you got Wilfried on one side, you'd be on the other side, and you guys kind of would make your way towards each other quite often, then link up together, which is really, really nice. And then, those hard-working, industrious midfielders. And then if you think of the Crystal Palace team now, it's kind of, or certainly last year or last couple of years, the likes of like Elise and Eze working together, having Mateta up front again as well. There's a lovely like continuity there. And I just wanted to talk about the ripple effect from one of the goal. I think people probably talk about most of it.
No, I think I was the only one. Yeah.
But yeah, we ended up doing this game. We all went ballistic because like the strike, is that the most pure strike you've ever hit?
It's the most ever. Like even in training, like kiddie games, youth team games, it's not something. Volleys is not something I ever practice. Me, come inside, shoot with the left foot. That is something I practice over and over again. But the volley was just a once in a lifetime hit, and it was just absolute perfection, and it can never be topped.
Yeah, man, and like, it's so pure. And do you know as well, what I noticed from one of the other angles is you're sort of like, you are waiting for it. It's like it could come, but just so you're alive to it, which is good, even as far out as you were.
Yeah, because I just saw like one of the few times I did anticipate. It was just like the way Bernardo Silva maybe headed it out. It was like, oh, this could like actually drop for me. This is gonna drop nicely. I'm gonna hit this. And like I said, it's something I've never done before, volley it from the edge of the box, but it was just perfection. I didn't hit it too hard. It didn't hurt my foot. It was just smooth. It was just, there's no other way to describe it as pure and smooth.
Have you ever like the celebrations after that? There's you say something and I don't know, like I don't know if you're in like shock by it or like I don't know, something going on. But interested if like when you get the time, like have a look at the goal, have a look at the celebration. You guys are sort of chatting about something. Can't really remember what it is, but yeah, it was an amazing goal. But the ripple effect of that goal is amazing because you gave your shirt to a young lad called Ethan, and then when it came to the FA Cup run last year and the FA Cup semi-final at Wembley, it was the sort of centerpiece of the crowd there with this huge tifo of the picture of him holding your shirt. So one, were you aware of that? Like, two, how does that feel? It's quite an odd feeling, I'd imagine, that literally no one else really gets to experience because of how unique it is. That's so special.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of it. I saw it on social media. I didn't watch the game because of the timings in Turkey, but I saw it on social media. It was just like wow, like just put me back a little bit. Like, wow, like my shirt is made of tifo for Crystal Palace on their way to winning the FA Cup. It was a surreal moment. It's difficult to put into words, but it was a moment where you take a step back and sort of look down at yourself and think, what an achievement, what you managed to do.
Because I think that I was at that FA Cup game and incredibly jealous. But it was one where, not the semi-final, the actual final. But I think what was really powerful about it was that you kind of realised the opportunity of legacy that you can have as a footballer. And I think sometimes when if you're not kind of just winning trophies all the time like Man City and Liverpool are, then I think sometimes people can think, oh, it doesn't mean anything, and it means everything. And it doesn't take much for a footballer in a team to go from, someone that you might not be sure about, or he's new, to being like part of the fabric of the club, like in literally one volley. And like, it's amazing that it's the feeling that you gave that lad, because you were able to do something on the pitch which gave him this huge moment, but then from there your generosity to give this lad the shirt, and then in that one picture it encapsulates how that person feels about their club and you, and then that can still resonate to the exact same extent however many years later in a way that can just both motivate the fans and the players in one moment. And then once they all realise what's going on here, when it gets explained, you're then like, whoa, like hairs are on the back of your neck. And so I think that has a ripple effect in terms of powering that group to go and win, as opposed to being fearful of Man City in that FA Cup final. So it's like, it can be as little or as big as you want it to be.
And you don't really realise the wider effect you have as a player when you're actually playing. When you're scoring a goal, you win the game. You don't think, oh, wow, like there's kids that are going to be so happy, like you're making people proud. It's like, you don't think. It's moments like that when you see a picture of a guy, like a young kid beaming ear to ear with my shirt in his hand, that you think, wow, like our reach is actually phenomenal. And everywhere I go now, it's Townsend, you scored that goal. I know you from that goal. That goal was literally traveled all over the world, and it's incredible. Yeah.
Split second moment, isn't it? Like how many times you kicked a football, how many times you touched a football, like full stop.
Yeah.
And like how that can be so profound, or can be extrapolated to be even more profound than you might feel like it is. I think that's such a great thought for teams to maybe have, in terms of like having that opportunity to impact people. Like, I think it's really, really special, man. So it's a cool thing for you to have. Let's talk about the punditry. How are you finding it? Because that's how we sort of got started chatting in the Club World Cup. We're both doing the long hours. I mean, tell me about the Club World Cup, because, mate, it sounded like you had some long shifts because of like the weather or the planes or whatever it was. Like, how did you find the Club World Cup?
It was actually insane. It was an unbelievable tournament. I know it didn't really take off in England because of the time difference and maybe your club loyalties, Liverpool fans not wanting to watch it. But if you're there and you were watching it, it was some tournament. Like, I got to commentate on Man City against Al Hilal, and all the people talking Saudi Football Farmers League, going and knocking out Manchester City, one of the best sides in Europe. It was just a tournament like which threw clubs together, which you'd never normally see in it. I know it's people talk about player welfare, but the actual tournament itself was such an amazing experience for me to watch and to be able to commentate on.
And you know, the art of commentating, is that the role you like the most, the sort of co-commentary? Because I think people have really enjoyed what you've done. Like we were chatting before we started about yourself and Seb being just a really wonderful pairing that a lot of people have loved at the sort of major tournaments that you've been able to be involved in so far. Like for anyone who's kind of not done it before, what's it like, and how in what ways have you grown in that role?
It's so tough because your punditry, you can think about what you're going to say. Your brain can filter it. You can figure out whether it's a good point or a bad point. Whereas commentary, you just have to say what you see, and like it leaves you so vulnerable to saying something silly. But I absolutely love it because I came through doing punditry first, and it was like I always feel like I'm fighting for airtime. I've got 4 minutes, and then they got to go to an ad break, or I'm trying to speak to the producer to get some clips at halftime and full time. He says there isn't enough time. It's like I was always a battle. Whereas co-commentary, the world is my oyster. I can say what I can see, and I see what I say. So I'm really enjoying it, but it's not taken away from the fact that it is the toughest job to do. To have to watch the game, be able to commentate on the game, to be able to see the wider picture, the formations, who's changing the game, what the managers are doing, what the subs are doing. There's just so much going on all within 90 minutes, and you have to find a way to see it all.
What's from that first game that you would have done doing co-commentary to now? What's something that you've kind of tweaked or changed in terms of your, be it preparation or kind of when you're in the fire of it?
Prep has stayed the same. I always try and watch. I'm not a stats person. I always try and watch football matches. Call me old school, but I like to sit down, watch a 90-minute match, pause it, look at the formation, play it, pause it again. That's the way I do my prep. And how I've changed, it's difficult because you just can't keep up. Like there are times where you have to stay silent because you just can't do it. Whereas once you get used to it, you're in the flow of it. And I think as well, the replays for me, because it's not my full-time job. It's not my art. I haven't been doing it for 40, 50 years. The replays are the goals. Sorry, not the replays. The goals are poetry. That's when your Seb Hutchinson's, Martin Tyler's, Peter Drury's, that's where they come alive and they have that poetry. And I think that's where I still struggle a little bit, is finding the right words to explain the goal with the right English, as opposed to full-on press, breaking the press, ball going wide, crossing and scoring. I have to sort of think about the poetry, the delivery, as well as what has happened.
You said a few times, and so I messaged you, didn't I, last week? So Paul Trollope, I saw him last week, and he was saying how impressed he was with you as a pro. Like you wanted to get every 1% that you could out of your career at Luton, and he, you know, he wanted me to say sort of hello to you because he was, he's got an amazing kind of energy and way about him as someone who's, you know, been in the game for so long. You can imagine some people get a bit beat down by it, but he's certainly not one of those, watching one of his sessions. But so for you now, like in terms of prolonging your career, do you have like a number in mind that you'd like to kind of get to in terms of playing? Because I guess the mix that you've got now in terms of the co-commentary, when it works for you, and being able to play, it's kind of there for you. Like, do you see yourself going down any particular road at the moment?
No. I think when I was younger, I used to see myself as a James Milner, a Ryan Giggs, Adam Lallana type player, somebody who can play to their late 30s because of the way I dedicated myself to football and the way I looked after my body. I got an ACL injury when I was 30, which almost ended my career. I was out for 14 months. I was a free agent after that 14 months. Obviously, nobody wanted to take a 32-year-old who hadn't played in the Premier League in 14 months. So the start of the season, I started doing punditry work with Sky, PLP, and luckily Luton gave me the opportunity. And that's why when we spoke to Paul Trollope, he said that I was going to make the most of my opportunity. That's because I knew that opportunity I was given. I knew I'd already experienced life after football before I retired, if that makes sense. Right. In the 3-4 months I was doing punditry. So I knew that opportunity I got at Luton, I was going to do everything possible to make it a success.
And so although obviously that, you know, the season ended in disappointment, did you love that season? Like, did you savor it a little bit more?
100%. The first few games, yeah. And then once you get into it and you're starting and you're battling for 3 points and you're in the relegation zone, you sort of forget. Like, I went into it thinking, I enjoy it, Andros. You don't know how long it's going to last. Always smile, win, lose, or draw. But then once you get into it, it's impossible to do that. It's such a cutthroat business, such a pressurized sport that you literally can't enjoy it. And yeah, I still there's still nights that I go to bed thinking, how did we get relegated that season? The turn of the year, we beat Brighton 4-0 at the Kenny. We were 4-2 up away at Newcastle at St James's Park. And I really believe with that team that we should have stayed up. And now to see them in League One, it's so sad. But yeah, I still have sleepless nights thinking what could have been. Luton could have been in the Premier League now as opposed to League One.
Yeah, I got it. It's incredible how it can change because the Championship's like it's not a fun place to be. I think especially if you're a club like Luton, who I think like a Fulham or those other clubs that kind of go down, they spend so much money. The squad's just too good. Whereas for Luton, they'd have been on such a ride. I remember we QPR beat them last season, obviously when they went down, and they just couldn't get any luck. And they didn't have. They're obviously, I think mentally, it's obviously hurts being relegated, but also like to not being able to have like Mitrovic up front, or do you know what I mean? Something like that, just who's going to get you 40 goals, is makes life a little bit harder for you. I did want to ask you this as well, if it's all right. So, and I always love asking people who kind of, especially you're still playing, right? What's the difference between the Premier League when you played your sort of first few games and the Premier League when you played your last few games? Like, how much has it changed for you?
In terms of what?
So, like, I remember asking Nedham about it, and he was like, "It feels like a different sport from when like he sort of first was playing." I think was he there on loan with you? I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, he was with me.
Yeah. So kind of, I mean, so he was in the Championship for a good few years after that. But the game is moving so fast, but it does feel like there's been a moment of, I guess, halting in terms of the games being a bit more kind of transitional now, as opposed to it was getting just kind of faster and shorter in terms of the passes, I think, for a long time. But yeah, I was just wondering how did you in that final year at Luton, did it feel different? Does the game feel different?
It was completely different in terms of like the setup. So when I was first coming through that year at QPR, 4-3-3, 4-4-2, you against your fullback, who's going to get the better out of him, two midfielders, who's going to get it better. Now, the last year at Luton, it was like, when we're prepping for, let's say, Man City, for example, it's like, okay, if they build up as a 3, we're going to do this. If they build up as a 4, we're going to do this. If they build up with 3 plus Edison, we're going to do this. It was like, almost like NFL, where like you have to memorize the plays, because Pep Guardiola figured out a way to just bamboozle the opponents in continually changing the way he's going to build up in his build-up formation, that you just had to remember so much. So for me, that was the biggest difference. The detail in the formations when I first came through to now is, you honestly can't compare.
Is that overwhelming?
I wouldn't say overwhelming, but you have to be switched on. Like, we talk about footballers not being the brightest. You have to be bright now. You can't be the weak link in the chain, because you're playing against some of the best sides in the world. So if I don't remember where I have to be when Man City build up with a 3, that's what Pep's preying on. He's preying on half a second of a player momentary lapse, and he gets a spare man. They find De Bruyne, they find Foden, they find Haaland, goal. So you have to be so switched on, and it's not overwhelming, but it is. You have to be bright nowadays to play.
Yeah, because in the summer I was chatting to Callum Wilson, and he was saying how Newcastle, if they've got the ball, depending on where they got the ball and who's got the ball, they have like 9 different patterns of play.
Yeah,
and I was just thinking, like, I did this thing with Thomas Frank yesterday. I was struggling with the like, is there 11 on the pitch, or like, is there 10? I'm known for kind of messing up with that. And I was chatting to some of the guys at Southampton as well. Like the sort of change in language, I think can be tough too as well, because if you need to be quick with how you're thinking, like you say, like in terms of just understanding, that's like when I was playing, generally I'd be going, right, whoever's playing midfield, we go, right, who's our numbers? Tell me who your number is. Right, that's your number, then that's your problem for the rest of the game. And like for you, obviously, it'd be dealing with your fullback. But now it's like, those different build-ups. Like, I imagine maybe the younger guys, because they've maybe been living that the whole way through, it might be less sort of difficult to kind of, translate maybe in your mind. But yeah, that's fascinating. But then with the ball, is there still that element of, especially as an attacking player, is that element of freedom of you to just sort of feel it out and do what you think's right, or have those partnerships with certain players where you know what you're going to do?
I think that's probably gone as well now. Yeah, because I think now they want their wingers in the pockets. They want the width provided by the wing back or the fullback.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that maybe not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think the freedom's gone now where that QPR one, Bosinga was right back and I was right wing. And Kevin Bond, the assistant manager at QPR, used to say to Bosinga, you take your position based on what Andros does. If Andros stays high and wide, you stay back. If Andros goes inside, then you can get up and overlapping. Whereas now I feel like there's no real freedom to work off each other. It's now you're in the pocket, Andros, the right wing back, he's providing the width and you have to stay and deal with life in the pocket.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, it does keep turning. It goes round and round and round. And I do believe the more years I'm sort of fortunate enough to kind of do it, the more I'm like, oh no, it is just sort of making its kind of way back round. Like QPR were playing like 4-4-2 the last like few weeks, and we've gone 6 unbeaten. So like it can return. Last thing, I just got a couple of names because you played with some great managers. Like, what's your sort of, when I say the kind of names to you, like how are these guys kind of different? Like, what's their sort of style? So let's start with that. What about Allardyce? What do you think when I say Sam Allardyce to you?
I love Sam Allardyce because whether you like the way he plays or not, he has full conviction. So some managers come in, they're like, oh, if you want to play inside, you can, but I prefer if you play it long. Like Sam Allardyce, you are playing it long. If you play it short, he will blow his whistle. He will swear at you. He will call you every name under the sun. And he will make sure the next time you play into the channel. And I absolutely love that about him, that he just knew the way he wanted to play. And we were playing it regardless of what our feelings. And as a manager, whatever you think, whatever your philosophy is, you've got to have conviction because players now will smell that sort of uncertainty and rip you open. So, yeah, I absolutely love playing under Sam Allardyce.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm always intrigued by that. Like, there's a balance, isn't there, between like conviction, but you've also got to have an element of adaptability to kind of to find new answers if that conviction isn't initially working. Roy Hodgson.
I owe most of my career to that guy. He gave me my first 10 England caps. At Crystal Palace, I think he turned me from a boy to a man. I think when he first came at Crystal Palace, I thought, oh, there we go. My England manager's come. I don't need to work hard. I'm in the team, come rain or shine. But first thing he said to me is, I'm going to make a defender out of you if it's the last thing I do. And I thought, oh, God, what have I done here? Who have they signed as manager? But you know what? He turned me from a maverick winger into a dependable right midfielder, somebody who could do the nasty side, somebody who could get up but could work back as well. And yeah, I owe him a lot for that because he definitely did extend my career because of how he evolved my game out of that sort of maverick winger into a more dependable player.
Rafa Benitez.
Again, somebody who took a chance on me. First of all, at Newcastle, when he came in, fresh off from Real Madrid, I was thinking, I could be in trouble here. I just signed £12 million from Spurs. I was injured. They're getting a manager from Real Madrid. I thought, wow, I could be in trouble. But instantly, he took to me and my style of play. He appreciated my directness, my confidence. And we had a good 4-month spell at Newcastle. Unfortunately, they got relegated. He decided to stay. I decided to leave. But we had some great conversations in that summer. And he knew it was a tough decision for me to leave. So we kept in contact. And when he got the Everton gig, my agent sort of said, Rafa's asked about you. And at the time, Everton were Newcastle, Everton were Aston Villa. They were the best of the rest. So I was like, yeah, no chance. Yeah, right. Like, pull the other one. But lo and behold, he calls me, he fights for me. Nobody in the club wanted me, but he fought for me, got me. I ended up for 4 or 5 months producing some of my best football. Those first few months at Everton, I really was the first name on the team sheet, which was bizarre.
Yeah. And is there something, because I think with Benitez, I can't really figure him out. What's he like?
He loves football. Everything he does is football. And for some people, it might be too intense. But for me, I love to sit with him and listen to his stories, because he's managed Liverpool. He's won the Champions League with Liverpool. He's managed Real Madrid, one of the biggest club in the world. He's seen it. He's done it all. So I used to just soak up all the information he used to give. And some players maybe found him too intense, but I appreciate the fact that everything he did was for the greater cause, because he truly believed in it.
Mm. And Poch?
Again, somebody, I probably didn't appreciate him until he was gone. I always say now in every interview, he's the best manager I had. But when he sold me, when he put me in the under-21s and sold me, I was probably calling the opposite. But no, he was a top manager ahead of his time.
Was that decision, do you think that decision was kind of fair and individual to you, or do you think it was it a message to the whole group?
I think a bit of both. I think it was a message to the wider group that you can't screw around. You screw around, there will be consequences. But I think as well, he tried with me. I was in his office. His first season, I was in his office at least once a week, going through clips, him trying to improve me, him trying to get me to play in the pockets. But because I was 23, 24, all I knew was the touchline and getting the ball 1v1. I wasn't open to listening to him. Whereas a few years later, when I was at Crystal Palace and I was doing all of the things he was trying to get me to do, it was like, this guy, like he was right all along. But that's football. Like, I don't have any regrets. But yeah, I always say now that he was way ahead of his time back then at Spurs.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like when you do get sort of into, late 30s, like you realise at 21 you're a child, like, aren't you? You're so like young at that. You're such a different person at 21 than you are at 34. Like, and so you're going to react to things differently because you don't know how it could work out, and you haven't experienced how those things work out as well.
And people like sort of get to my age and say, I regret that. And it really eats away at the mistakes they made when they were younger. But with age comes wisdom. You're never going to be wise at 21. You're always going to make mistakes because you are a youngster. So that's what I've learned, to just any mistake I made, just let it go, because that was the person I was. I was never going to do anything different.
And what about you as a coach or a manager? Like, how much, I can tell you love the game and tell you're sort of intelligent when it comes to the game. Is that something you would explore?
You know what? I started my coaching badges. I completed my B license with the Welsh FA. I started my A and then got injured and never fully finished it. Obviously, my punditry is going in the summer months. I do a lot of punditry, but I'm at a stage in my life now where I just want to retire, disappear, build a farm, and just live happily in peace and quiet. Like I've really like the last few years, I've gone from one extreme where I want to be manager, I want to be a pundit, I want to do everything, conquer the world like Gary Neville. Whereas now I'm like, I just want to disappear. I just want to have some cows, some chickens, eat some eggs from the chickens, get some milk from the cows, and just live out my days with my kids happy.
I love that, man. That's amazing. Andros, it's so lovely to chat to you, mate. I look forward to next time you're in the country, and hopefully we'll maybe chat in person. And because I think I really really enjoy your punditry. It's just always great to get insight. I think that's what it's all about. But you do it in a really amazing way. So yeah, thank you, mate, and thank you for finding the time as well with everything going on. I appreciate it. And enjoy yourself out there. Get yourself some cows. Next time I see you, you're gonna have this long like flowing hair, nice long beard. It's gonna look good. Good man. All right. Well, yeah, we'll keep a keen eye on you. And look after those knees in that sodden pitch. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. It's because the podcast is doing so well, we're able to meet people like Andros and then have a chat with them. So thank you to you guys. Make sure you follow the podcast. Is there anywhere you want to send people? I think after your last answer, I'm guessing you're not too bothered, are you, about Twitter followers or any of that stuff? But we'll chuck them in the description. Normally I've got somebody who's got a channel and they're trying to like build that. You don't need to do that, do you? Exactly. He's living the life. But yeah, massive thank you to Andros. Follow the podcast, check out all the other ones, and we'll be back next time.